It's been a heck of a 24 hours from Donald Trump. He's also just done the easy bit in getting a ceasefire in Ukraine. He actually forced Ukraine to agree to this proposed 30-day ceasefire by publicly insulting Ukraine's president, and even last week, cutting off supplies of American weapons and intelligence. And this morning, our time, Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, announced he did have a deal with the Ukrainian team after negotiations in Saudi Arabia.
We'll take this offer now to the Russians, and we hope that they'll say yes, that they'll say yes to peace. The ball's now in their court.
And that's the big catch. Russian President Vladimir Putin, you see, has given absolutely no public sign at all that he does want peace himself. He's offered no concessions for one and has rejected allowing peacekeepers. In fact, an hour after Rubio made his ceasefire deal with Ukraine, Russia unleashed more drones on Ukrainian cities. Now, expecting Putin to reciprocate and agree to this ceasefire is exactly where Trump's brutal treatment of Ukraine could backfire. Trump made Ukraine weaker with his attacks and his bans, and made it almost friendless with Republican voters in America after painting it as a greedy, ungrateful leech of American money. So why wouldn't Putin now conclude that he should ask for everything he can get, or even keep fighting for it? So this could go anywhere. A ceasefire, a peace, a surrender of Ukraine, or a confrontation between Trump and Putin. Who knows? I mean, Trump has now ended his ban on US military aid for Ukraine, but that said, he didn't today quite sound in the mood for a fight.
I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on, and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
So this could yet get ugly. Joining me is Ukraine's ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Myroshnychenko. Ambassador, thank you for your time. Is there any real sign that Russia will agree to this ceasefire? And if it does, on what terms?
Hi, Andrew. Happy to be with you. I cannot speculate. We can only hope. And the outcome out of Jeddah is at least has a positive outlook. Ukraine has agreed to an interim 30-day ceasefire. But it will only work if Russia accepts it and if Russia can implement it. And so we will see how they deal with that and what their position is going to be. But also America has committed to renew the military support, but also renew the sharing of military intelligence. And we also, in the meantime, if we can get a ceasefire, there are some humanitarian issues which should be addressed, such as the exchange of the prisoners of war, also the return of the Ukrainian children, which Russia has kidnapped during the past 3 years.
Yeah, well, I think actually for a man supposedly with no cards, your president has played a very good hand. I think this is best the deal as could be expected for Ukraine, and now, even better, the onus goes on Russia. Now, let's see whether Russia is serious. I don't know that it is. What Russian demands couldn't Ukraine accept in a deal for a truce or a ceasefire or even peace?
Look, we just have to look at the objectives of Russia, and Russia has not given up on its objective to destroy Ukraine. We haven't actually heard anything which would be, in any contrast to that. Russia has waged this war for the past 11 years. They came to destroy Ukraine, came to destroy Ukraine's sovereignty. So for us to achieve peace, and we want peace more than anybody else, we need to have a reliable peace, a peace that would last, and we would like to see justice done. And that would require some serious security guarantees, commitment of the U.S. in Europe, because Europe needs its security, and it's all anchored around the U.S. commitment to Europe. So at this stage, we are working on what is possible and moving forward. So we will see, you know, there is a whole list of of the Russian demands, but if you kind of go through that list, you basically need to surrender. I mean, because as they require, and they actually want the surrender of Ukraine. And that was pretty much soon after they invaded Ukraine. That was part of those negotiations in Turkey. This is what they demanded. They basically demanded Ukraine's surrender, and which certainly Ukrainians could not accept. We'll see what their demands are now, because whatever is in the public domain is a lot of the things are not even acceptable for America and not acceptable for Ukraine, certainly, and not for Europe.
I know that Bloomberg has been reporting unidentified officials who say that Russia is holding out for absolute top demands that you couldn't accept, including your retreat from 4 of the regions that Russia has partially invaded, that you would have to give up even more territory. So that, I don't know that it's serious at all. Ambassador Myroshnychenko, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it.